On this episode of Daily IoT, I'm going to show you how to create a Losant workflow that you can use to trigger other workflows when your particle device comes online. To get started, we're going to create a new workflow. So I'm on the Workflows tab here in my Losant account. I'm going to click Add Workflow, and we're going to call this Particle Online, and click Create Workflow. Now, in the trigger, all workflows start with a trigger, and you can see that we have this device connect. However, this is only used if you're connecting to the Losant broker through MQTT, which you can do with your particle device. However, there's other first-class support for particle within the Losant platform. So let me show you another way without using MQTT that you can trigger workflows when your device comes online. And to do that, we first need to create an integration. So we're going to leave our workflow for just a second and come over to integrations and click Add Integration. And we're messing around, so we'll call it Photon Test. The integration type is particle. You have to put your access token, which I will change after this video. And then we need to subscribe to a specific event in our integration that we can trigger our workflow off of when the device comes online. And the name of that event is spark/device/last reset. That will trigger every time your particle device comes online. And so we need to add that to our integration, subscribe to it. So we're going to go ahead and click Create Integration, and then we can come back over to our workflow. And to get our workflow started, we're going to scroll down here in the triggers section of the node palette and grab this particle trigger and drop it onto the workspace. And you can see that this will trigger, if we scroll down here and we select our integration, Photon Test, it says this workflow will trigger when the integration receives a message for any of the following events. So in your Photon or your particle integration, you could subscribe to any number of events, and any one of them would trigger this workflow. Right now we've only set up this last reset one, but you could have multiple events listed here. Because we only care about this event, we need to filter out based on this event. And an easy way to do that is I'm going to just copy that event name, and then I'm going to grab a conditional node here from the node palette and connect it. And we will say, we'll name it isResetEvent. And the expression that we want to use here is if data.name equals that Spark device last reset. So we only want to flow down into this workflow if it's actually the last reset event. Now we could stop here and just branch off of the positive side of this node and trigger a workflow or create some other outcome based on the particle device coming online. These are the only two nodes required to actually determine if your particle device has just come online. But let's take this a little bit further by using a switch node, because when this event fires, this last reset event, there's a little bit of extra data along with that tells us a reason. Was it because you pushed the reset button? Was it because you removed and reapplied power? Or was it because you loaded new firmware? There's a number of different reasons that the device might reset. And you may want to trigger different workflows based on that reason. And the easiest way to accomplish that is with a switch block. And so we will connect the positive outcome of the isResetEvent node to the switch statement. And then we come down in here and it asks us what is the cases the cases of your switch node will evaluate against this statement. And so in that payload, the data.data member has the reason string for why our device was reset. And so we can come down here and just add the cases that we care about. Now, like I said, there's several different reasons that your device might reset, but the most common ones are going to be a pin reset, which is if somebody hits the reset button, and power down, which is fired if power is removed, and then it's booted back up by reapplying power. And so those are the two most common. As with any switch construct in programming, we have this idea of a default. And so if it's neither one of those, we'll fall into the default category here. And so at this point, for testing purposes, we're just going to grab a bunch of debug nodes, grab one here and do a copy and paste. So we've got all three there, just to illustrate how this works. And we'll connect them just like that. And so down here in the pin reset debug, we'll just do a static message of you hit the reset button. And over here in the power down, you removed and reapplied power or something like that. And then the default, you can say, I don't know what you did. Okay, so just for examples, we're using the debug nodes, but this is where you could branch off and trigger a specific workflow that you would like to carry out in the event of somebody hitting the reset button to reboot the particle device or powering it down. And again, there's other options here, like a firmware upgrade has a different string. And so I won't cover what all of those are. You can look that up in the documentation, but this is a way that you can trigger workflows based on your particle device coming online. Again, if all you care about, if you don't care about the reason and you just care that the device came online, you could branch off right here from isReset event. And that is, again, going to fire every time your particle device comes online. So to illustrate how this works, we will go ahead and deploy our workflow and then open up our debug tab here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply power to my photon. Now, I should get a power down event. There you go. You removed and reapplied power. And so let's go ahead and get rid of that. And now I'm going to hit the reset button. And it'll take just a few seconds for it to reconnect to the particle cloud. Okay, and there you go. You hit the reset button. So this is a really simple and powerful way from a simple Losant workflow to be able to determine that your particle device just came online, and then what the reason was that it went offline to begin with. And you can trigger, again, different workflows depending on what your application needs are. If you have any questions about this simple Losant workflow on how to detect your particle device coming online, please stick them in the comments below. I am more than happy to try to answer those and get you up and running in your project. Thank you so much for watching Daily IoT, the show where together we're learning how to make the Internet of Things one day at a time.